Hello, my music-loving friends. You can see I have my theory book open and ready to go. We're going to add to our key signatures booklet very quickly. And it's important to say here that I'm giving you an overview of all of these things, but you have to work on applying them with your teacher and on your own, in your lesson and in your home practice. You really have to think about these things, but the more that you do it, the easier your practicing gets. Then your teacher can give you a piece of sheet music and you can go home and you can rough that out on your own. And then you can work on making it so musical and beautiful and stylistically appropriate in your lesson, instead of your teacher just having to tell you, put your finger on the string here. Okay? So let's add a little bit to this key signature booklet. You see I have it open and we left this side blank on purpose. Here's what we're going to write in there. We're going to give ourselves instructions for how to use a key signature to figure out which notes to play in any given piece. There are 4 things that we're going to do. So we need 4 things written here. So you're going to want to space it out the way that I do it. Okay. I've decided to switch to color for this. Okay. The very first thing that you do when you get a new piece, you look at the key signature. It's right in the beginning between the clef and the time signature. You look at that. And the first thing that you do is you name which sharps you see in order. That's very important. That's why I gave you the sentence. I hope you memorized it. I quiz my students on this routinely. Okay, so let's write a little note to ourselves. I'm putting a little asterisk. You make an X and a cross, and then you have a nice little bullet point to write something next to. The very first thing you do when you look at the key signature, you name the sharps in order. Okay? Name the sharps, S-H-A-R-P-S, in order. I underlined it. It's so important. Sometimes I'll ask a student what sharps they see, and they'll go from the bottom to the top or the top to the bottom, and I say, no, fail. I actually say that. But then I get nicer, I promise. And I say, well, let's go from left to right. What's the one to the left? Then what's after that? What's after that? Make sure you go in order. Okay, changing colors. The next step, and this is why that first step is so important, is you find the furthest sharp to the right. I'm going to make that sentence a little bit shorter by taking out the word sharp, because you already know that that's what you're looking at. So find, F-I-N-D, the furthest. That means the one that's the most, furthest, F-U-R-T-H-E-S-T, to the right. Let's play with that for 1 second. I'm going to use a little piece of scratch paper before it gets recycled. All right, let's say that you have a key signature with 1 sharp. What's the furthest one to the right? There's only one, it's got to be an F. What if it has 2 sharps? The furthest one to the right? That's a C. What if you have 3 sharps? What's the furthest one to the right? I didn't hear you. Say it louder. It's a G. All right, so you get the idea. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Put another little asterisk. Next step, we're almost there. You go up 1/2 step. Write it down, then we'll play with it. Go up 1/2, H-A-L-F, step. Okay, we're going to play with that in a moment, but we're going to write the last thing first. Go on for my last color. 1 more asterisk. And then you compare your answer to the last note. Compare, C-O-M-P-A-R-E, to last note. Let's play with it for a second. Okay, this is where the brilliance of your theory book is going to really shine. You need so many things from it, but you will get so good at this that you just do it in your head. Obviously, I don't pull out a measuring tape and everything when I'm playing an opera or something, but for now, I am going to put it all out so that I can see everything very clearly. Okay. So I've got my little 12-tone measuring tape. Sometimes I called it the scale measuring tape, same thing. I've got my whole and half step markings. Which one do I need? Oh, one of my instructions is to go up a half step, better turn that to the half step side. Okay. I've pulled out Seesaw again. It's the first piece that my students play. They don't know key signatures at this point, but I'm using this one because it's a very simple piece and it illustrates the way that you can use this method. Okay. Step 1, name the sharps in order. What's in this key signature? I see 3 sharps. I'm going from left to right. I can think of my sentence or I can identify them because I know how to read the sharps. That first one is F, that one is C, that one is G. Fat cats go. All right. So now I've identified them and I said them in order. I didn't say F, G, and C. That won't give me the right answer. Okay. So I said F, C, G. That is how they are written from left to right. Okay. Now, which one of those? Because now the next step is to find the furthest one to the right. Which one is the one that's all the way to the right? It's a G sharp. Super. Now I'm on the right path. All right. What is a half step up? I'm supposed to go up a half step. Well, what's up a half step from G sharp? Maybe I don't just remember that off the top of my head. That's why I have this out. So I'm going to pull out my little half step marking. I'm going to make sure that this one is pointing to G sharp. What's the next one pointing to? To an A. Oh my goodness, I think this piece must be in the key of A major. We'll talk major and minor another time, but for now, we're doing major. All right, last step. Compare to last note. What note is at the end of the piece? F-A-C-E. Oh my gosh, it's an A. I decided the piece was in the key of A, and the last note is an A. Oh my gosh, I must have gotten the right answer. When you compare to the last note, it tells you whether you did your other analysis correctly. Well, what does that mean for your playing? Seesaw is entirely played on the A and the E strings. So let's think about how that would play out. Well, okay, so I need F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp, right? So that means all the other ones are natural. So let's see, that would mean I can play my A string, great. I don't want to B flat or an A sharp, I'm not going to play a low one. Oh, I put my 1 on the tape, awesome, great. I don't want to C natural because there's a C sharp in the key signature, not going to play a low 2. I must play a high 2 because I want a C sharp. The D doesn't have a sharp, so I'm just going to put my 3rd finger on the tape. What if I want to play my 1st finger on the E string? I'm going to put it on the tape because there's an F sharp in the key signature. I didn't mention on the way by, but you can play the E string because there's nothing on the E. There's no sharp there, so great, you can play that. I'm putting my 1 on the tape. Great. There's a G sharp in the key signature, so do I want a low 2? I do not. I want a high 2 because I want a G sharp. And then when I get to 3rd finger eventually, I would put my finger on the tape. So what did I figure out through that process? All my fingers are on the tape in this piece. So that means I get to use the first finger pattern I ever learned, the simplest finger pattern for most people. And now I know where to put my fingers for this piece. But you know what? We're going to do it with another piece now that isn't that way.